Hey guys, this is going to be another response to Complete Rationality's video about free will versus determinism. And there's an ongoing discussion on YouTube, and even today I participated in a stick cam that had a few interesting people on it talking about free will versus determinism. It was pretty interesting. Okay, now to Complete Rationality's video. He says that basically the arguments I gave were non-arguments because you could say it about anything, and the arguments I stated in my previous video were referring to his cup example or a hand on the stove example. I encourage you to watch my previous video to get to know what I'm talking about. But basically, he's saying that people can act outside of their instinctual behavior, consciously choose to do something in contrary to what they feel is the right decision. Or for example, if a person puts his hand on a stove, which is really hot, his instincts tell him to take his hand off right away, but he chooses to keep it on for a few seconds. And he believes that this somehow indicates that this person is exhibiting free will. I tend to disagree with him on it, because I think that if that person thinks strong enough, he could actually know the reason why he decided to keep his hand on the stove. Now, as long as there's a reason, then there's a cause. Then that decision was caused by a previous factor. Now, this is all that determinism boils down to. Causality by previous factors that influences human decisions. Well, there's also determinism in means of universal evolution and other stuff, but we're talking right now about determinism in the human mind versus free will, the ability to deviate from the deterministic nature of the brain. Now, the thing is, instead of actually getting into a debate or a discussion about it, I would actually be interested to hear what he thinks about this next argument of mine. I'm not really even sure if I can call it an argument. I would call it rather a thought experiment on this topic. Basically, it goes like this. If I choose right now to press the number 2 on my keyboard for no good reason whatsoever, I just chose to do that. There is nothing that has, according to Complete Rationality, there is nothing that caused me to do this specific action at this given moment. Now, fast forward a day in time, and then rewind back to this exact point. So we go into the future and look back at my decision to press the number 2. Then we rewind back to this exact moment, with the state of the universe and being exactly the way it is, and the wiring of my brain being the way it is, and all other factors are still in place. Will I do something other than press the number 2 to try to prove my point to complete rationality? To simplify it, because I think I made it a little complex, I have just consciously made a nonsensical decision that accomplishes absolutely nothing. Now, if we go back in time to the moment where I was facing the decision of what example should I bring as a random behavioral pattern of mine, would I do anything else rather than do what I did? Am I able to actually behave in any different manner than the way I did? I would argue that you cannot do that. No matter how many times we go back to the point where I press the number 2 on my keyboard, I will always press the number 2 on my keyboard, because my brain told me that is a good example to use. So, why did I choose the number 2 out of all numbers? I am not completely sure of that. But the fact that I don't know exactly why I chose the number 2 rather than any other number doesn't mean that I was that my free will caused me to choose number 2. It's just that certain subconscious processes going on in my brain told me that out of all numbers, the number 2 intuitively came up first. I would like to hear what Complete Rationality thinks. If I go back in time, is it possible that I would choose any other number on the keyboard or any other action rather than pressing a number on the keyboard? For example, I don't know, shaking my table, or moving my, or I don't know, like writing the letter C on some random page. Is it possible that I would do any of these other actions if I go back in time to the point where I made that decision?